Hello, my name is Jillian, and the selection that I chose for my art talk was the famous Hall of Mirrors found in the Palace of Versailles. In the Hall of Mirrors specifically, it was the architect's task, both inside and out, to create a building that would illustrate Louis XIV's symbolic concept of himself as the Sun King. And according to the website of Chateau de Versailles, the Hall of Mirrors was the most famous room in the palace. It was built to replace a large terrace designed by the notable architect Louis Laveau. Also, that same website records most of the history of the Hall of Mirrors that tell us Laveau's successor, Jules Hardouin-Mansart, produced a more suitable design that replaced the terrace with a large gallery. Work started in 1678 and ended in 1684. And some of the images that you're seeing are a large scale of the outside view of the Palace of Versailles, and the long hallway that you're seeing in some of the images is the notable Hall of Mirrors that was designed specifically for King Louis XIV of France. What specifically engaged my interest in this piece of art, the Hall of Mirrors, was that I was already kind of familiar with it. Being in French class for all 4 years of high school, we learned a lot about French architecture, and in this image you see a picture of Louis XIV. So I had already heard of his name in the notable Palace of Versailles, so once I saw the Hall of Mirrors, it made me really interested to dive more into what this architecture was all about. What I find remarkable about the Hall of Mirrors is what people were able to create during this time period of 1678. On one wall, 357 mirrors stretch from floor to ceiling, and on the opposite wall, 17 large glass doors offer breathtaking views of Versailles' sprawling gardens. King Louis XIV was King of France from 1642 to 715. Louis was also known as the Sun King, and he envisioned the Palace of Versailles to be the center of art, luxury, and fashion icon of France and even the world. Louis XIV, he hired an architect by the name of Louis Laveau, which I mentioned earlier, to transform what was originally a family hunting lodge into the most luxurious palace on earth, which you see pictured here. The Palace of Versailles is one of the greatest achievements in French 17th century art. Louis XIII's old hunting pavilion was transformed and extended by King Louis XIV, which he installed the court and government in 1682 at the palace. In this picture, you see the architect that was commissioned for the great work of building the Hall of Mirrors, which was Louis Laveau. He actually built the King and Queen State Apartments and the white stone facade on the garden side, known as Laveau's envelope. He was the first architect to carry out major work under Versailles under King Louis XIV. The Palace of Versailles was built from 1624 to 1698, and as pictured here is a magnificent example of French Baroque architecture and is the most famous royal chateau in France. The Hall of Mirrors exemplifies the architectural theme of creation by division, which is a series of simple repetitions rhythmically marked off by the repetition of the large windows, which expresses the fundamental values of Baroque art and in which the focal point of the interior as well as of the entire building is the King's Bed. The composition of the Hall of Mirrors includes converted stone and brick lodge into a 3-story chateau complete with an impressive black and white marble courtyard, complete with columns and wrought iron balconies. It was given a flat roof and 2 new wings containing apartments for the king and queen, and was known as the Marble Court. These included the Hall of Mirrors and the central gallery of the palace, which comprised 17 mirror-clad arches reflecting the 17 windows. A total of 357 mirrors was used as simply decoration. The ornamentations in the canvases along the ceiling that celebrate the apotheosis of the king, bronzes were originally designed by Lebrun, who was a successor and kind of an intern for Laveau. They have reached the peak of expressive possibilities of French Baroque art.